It is now my great honor to introduce Andrew Morlet. Andrew is the chief executive of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which was established in 2010. The foundation aims to accelerate the transition to a circular economy, one that is restorative and regenerative by design, eliminating waste and pollution, and keeping products and materials in high-value use for longer. The foundation develops insights and analysis to demonstrate the economic rationale and value creation opportunity of a circular economy and works with businesses, governments, cities, and educators to promote adoption of circular economy principles and practices. I came across the work of the foundation during my studies at the Cambridge Institute of Sustainability Leadership, and I'm very happy that you accepted our invitation. Back to our theme, matter and memory now. Matter, that is materials and resources, nowadays are most of the time wasted. Materials should be allowed to have a memory. They should be used again and again and create a story. Materials should never be wasted. It should always be reused and go back into the cycle to save our resources. With Andrew and Ellen MacArthur pushing this agenda, I have hope that we can actually achieve a change for our planet and our society. They are successfully doing this on a high level by recently convincing companies such as Nestle, H&M, and IKEA, among others, to embrace the circular economy approach in their production processes, showing them that they can be part of the solution. Thanks to the relentless work of this foundation, we are finally seeing change. We from the Engadine Art Talks are supporting this mission and have already hosted a panel with him last October at the Serpentine Pavilion with the set designer Els Devlin, who is here today, the architect Sumaya Valle, and designer Anab Jain for the longue durée theme, and of course Hans-Ulrich Obrist. We believe it is essential to bring artists and architects, designers, scientists, corporates, and the community together to be able to imagine new possibilities and create new realities around the circular economy vision. Actually, applying this new economic vision is fun and offers loads of opportunities. In our globally connected society, I would like to see that art and culture play a more leading role, providing ideas for new ways forward. I would like to see ideas put into practice. Before I pass the word to you now, Andrew, I would like to quote the late Etel Adnan, artist and last year's E.A.T participant who also passed away, unfortunately, a few weeks ago. The world needs togetherness, not separation. Love, not suspicion. A common future, not isolation. Thank you.
Good morning. It's really a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I want to thank Katerina very much for inviting me, and Christina for hosting this event. This is a little bit odd, actually. This is the first in-person presentation I've done in the last 2 years. And obviously it's great to be here. It's sort of a transitionary period because everybody's wearing masks and I don't get the feedback. I don't know if you're happy or appalled, but hopefully this will be interesting to you. And I want to spend a little bit of time really doing two things. I really want to talk about an idea and I want to talk about an approach. And I just also want to reflect on the fact that I've been coming up to Davos for the last 10 years. The foundation was established in 2010. We first went to Davos in the World Economic Forum in 2012, and every year, except for the last two because of the pandemic, Ellen MacArthur, myself, and a small team have come up to the Alps, and it's sort of interesting because we're here today and there's not much snow around, and it's warm and it's mild, and you know, part of me wonders: is this normal? Is this a symptom of global warming? I don't know. You know, maybe it's normal, but it's a thought that's in my mind, and it makes me reflect on where we are today and where we've come from. I thought it was really interesting talking about presentism and the fact that this is undermining history. If you think about your youth, I think about my youth, look at the average age of the people in this room. When we grew up as children, we had no concept of a world in crisis. I certainly didn't. I grew up, and my first memories are of Central Australia. I grew up in a world that was pristine. The sky was blue. It was full of extraordinary wildlife, birds, galahs, cockatoos, red dust, blue skies, pristine clean water. You know, the world was full of possibilities and it was abundant. And, you know, I never heard of climate crisis, planetary crisis as a child. And when you think about today and youth of today, we have this incredible situation where the youth of today are actually anxious. They're anxious about the world. They're anxious about the future. And I'm quite sure that the pandemic and the lockdown has made this worse for people, and particularly for the youth who are trying to enter into the world and find their way and wonder what role they can have and what agency they can bring to this world in crisis. So I don't want to spend a lot of time today talking about the challenges. I don't want to bombard you with terrible facts and challenges. But I want to give you a taste of some of the observations we've made as an organisation over the years, and also talk a bit about what's gone wrong and what the possibilities are in the future. So if we think about the economy of today, it's what we characterise as a linear economy. We take materials out of the world, out of the ground, from nature. We make products. We use them for an increasingly short amount of time, and we generate masses and masses of waste. We have normalised disposability. And this is a feature from the Life magazine, I believe in around 1956-57, which talks about throwaway living. And I thought it was quite interesting because it characterises this normalisation of disposability. And if you think about the personal lived experience you have of disposability, of the mountains of plastics waste that you generate in your kitchens, everything that you buy from the supermarket wrapped in plastics. If you think about the clothing that you have and the amount of clothing that you buy and the amount of time you use it, it's getting shorter and you're getting more of it. And if you think of food, we today have a world where we are extracting food rather than growing it in an ecological way. Just a few examples. So plastics, where the Foundation has done a lot of work in plastics over the years, and we've done this deliberately as a demonstration case. We wanted to pick a material flow in 2013 that is ubiquitous, that everybody on the planet touches, and we wanted to explore this and really understand the stocks and flows of plastics in the world. It was really, really interesting. My background is in business. I spent really 20 years plus working for large corporates and doing analysis and really optimizing the linear economy. So I have a very analytic background. I worked with some of the world's leading management consulting companies. We are pretty good at analysis in the Foundation. We approached this problem in 2013, the plastics story, and we said, let's go out and find the data on plastics. It's been around for 40, 50 years. It's become part of the world we live in. There must be loads of information about it, and there wasn't. We had very little understanding in 2013 of the stocks and flows of plastics. So we set about to really go and find out about it and to do research on it. And what we found was that we produce about 350 million tonnes of plastics per year, of which about 80,000 tonnes is used for plastics packaging. And after 40 years of promoting the recycling of plastics, and many of you will be aware of chasing arrows, the triangles there on the right-hand side, which are on the bottom of packaging. This symbol was invented 40 years ago, so the problem of recycling, or the challenge of recycling, was known at that time, and we've been working on it as a society for 40 years. So when we did the analysis in 2014-15, leading up to a report we released in Davos, we actually found that of that 75 million tonnes of plastics, 40 years after initiating recycling, we only collect around about 12% of that. 12% of the volume that is actually put on market every year. And the vast majority of the plastics that is produced actually goes to landfill incineration, and a full 33% of it ended up in the ocean. And only 2% of it is recycled back into a flow of materials. That's after 40 years of trying. And what we did was we produced this report, we brought it up to Davos, we presented it in 2016. It got more media coverage than any report ever released at the World Economic Forum, and we used the quote of there will be more plastics in the ocean than fish by 2050 as a headline. And that was picked up, and it actually ignited a lot of interest in this topic, and this is why plastics today is really quite a big deal. But this is one example. Fashion is another one. As I said, we are seeing an enormous growth in fashion sales over the last 15 years. We are seeing a decline in the amount of usage that those clothing are getting, and we are seeing all of this pretty much going to landfill or incineration. There's almost zero recycling of clothing back into clothing again. It's actually worse than plastics itself, plastics packaging itself. And what's interesting about this as well, obviously, is that roughly 60% of fashion is made of plastics, and there's an enormous amount of shedding of microfibers. It's a plastics problem. But as I said, I don't want to really go through a lot of data and examples, but if you look at the website, we've produced over 25 reports in the last 10 years, and what we have done is we have tried to adopt a very different approach to the way in which we engage with the system, we engage with the industrial system, to really demonstrate there's a massive problem. There is a huge opportunity if we actually rethink the system and redesign the way in which the economy works. And this is an opportunity that the design world, that the industrial world has to economically value from. So what we've tried to do is both demonstrate the challenge, the opportunity, and the economic case, the rationale for doing this. So just stepping back a bit, what is the idea of a circular economy? This diagram we use quite a lot. We refer to it as the butterfly diagram. And what it tries to do is to represent the economic system, which is obviously very difficult to do, but we've borrowed from a number of different schools of thought and brought this into a framework. On the right-hand side of the diagram is the technical materials world, the materials that are not biodegradable, they're not grown. So these can be metals, minerals, plastics, etc. And these are technical materials that don't biodegrade. On the left-hand side is the biosphere, the materials that do grow and that do biodegrade. And we think about these two worlds, the technical sphere and the biosphere, needing to be considered as a whole system. And what people often think about when they hear the word circular economy is that it's actually about waste management and better recycling. But it's actually not. Well, it actually is, but it's way, way more than that. It's a much bigger idea. The circular economy really is an approach, a systems approach to thinking about material flows in the world. And what we've tried to do is to characterize in the technical sphere that there are many ways in which we can keep materials in flow in the system. And we have these various cycles that you can see. We call them loops. And the closer you are into the centre, the higher the value of the economic value of that loop. So if we make a product, think of any product, we want to be able to maximise its use and its utility, its utilisation, and the length of time that it's used. So we can do many things to do that. We can share it, we can maintain it, we can design it for repair and upgradability, we can reuse it, resell it, remanufacture it. These are all these inner loops. The very last loop, the most outer loop, is the recycling loop. That's where we take it back, we actually apply a lot of energy to crush it, to separate it, to turn it back into a material. Then we apply a lot of energy to turn it back into a product that's typically a downgraded product. So recycling is important, it's really important, but it's the lowest value part of the technical sphere's value. So that's the technical side. We talk about people, and if you listen carefully, we use the language of consumption in daily use. We talk about consumers, and we talk about people as consumers. And this is a real problem. We need to rethink and use different language and different ways of talking about people in the economic system, and we need to think about the economic system within the natural system. But we need to change the way we talk about people in the technical sphere and not call them consumers. In fact, I've met many people over the years, young people in particular, who say, if you call, calling me a consumer is an insult. I find it offensive. Don't call me a consumer. I live in the world as a person. If I don't eat it, I don't consume it. I participate with this flow of materials. So that's the right-hand side. The left-hand side is really very much about regenerating natural systems. So how do we, again, keep biological materials in the economy, and how do we grow and use biological materials in a way that regenerates natural systems? Because today, we use extractive economics on both sides of the diagram. We extract minerals, we extract materials and matter from the physical world. We make, use and waste very quickly, and in the biological world, we do likewise. And this is a characteristic of extractive economics. So I know from my years of working in industry and with business, extractive economics is based on a number of principles. Things like simplification, standardization, leverage and arbitrage, centralization, scale economics, linearity in general, disposability. And it's a reductive, winner-take-all model. And it's all about throughput. Everything goes through the economy and it goes somewhere. We don't care, it goes somewhere. That's the linear economy. And that's actually directly opposed to the nature of the characteristics of natural systems. Natural systems and nature is complex, it's distributed, it's diverse, it's inclusive in that it works at all levels and scales. It's self-limiting, it's resilient, it is based on circularity. Things flow. Nothing is wasted in nature. Everything is food for something else. So these principles are actually directly counteropposed to the linear economy. So nature is a well-functioning system that has evolved over 3.5 billion years. And if you think of that in research and development terms, that's a hell of a lot of R&D. It works and it works in the long run. So we've got a system, an economic system that is fundamentally opposed to natural systems. And however you look at it, however you look at the data, however you think about linearity, as bad as you think it is, it's probably much worse. We don't allow ourselves to really imagine what today's economy's impact could be in 30 years' time when it's doubled and doubled again. So the extractive nature of this is accelerating, and it's massively problematic. So the circular economy is part of a broader movement. I hope I'm helping you understand that it's not just about waste and recycling, it's a systems approach, and it's part of a movement of a number of schools of thought that are focused on regenerative economics. And I know that the Engadine Arts talks have had Kate Rayworth talk about donut economics. There are a number of others that you should be aware of. The performance economy, cradle to cradle, biomimicry, Janine Benyus, who is an outstanding writer and talks about using nature as an inspiration for design. Regenerative design, I just wanted to give a plug for a book, because we seem to be doing that a lot today, from Michael Paulin and Sarah Ichioka. Michael we've worked with for many years. This book is called Flourish, and I know we're going to be talking about built environment through the course of today. I would very much encourage you to get this book. It only just came out. I only got it 2 days ago. It's terrific. It's a really good book. And these schools of thought, this regenerative movement is actually a significant step up from what we've seen in terms of sustainability over the last 30, 40 years. And I think it's fair to say in my lifetime, having an awareness of sustainability and having an awareness now of the facts, sustainability as a societal agenda and endeavour has frankly failed to actually intersect and change the path that we're currently on. And one of the reasons for that is that sustainability, as it's typically practiced, is about reducing the harm of a linear economy, slowing down the damage. It's about lightweighting, it's about designing for less impact of the current linear system. And we know that this is not going to actually have the ability, and it's not had success in actually transforming the economy. Regenerative economics, the donut economy, circular economy, this is a fundamentally different idea, and it shifts the thinking from reducing the harm of a linear system to fundamentally redesigning product service systems in context, so wherever these exist in the world, so it's appropriate to context, so that the economic system itself is restoring the materials and the matter, keeping them in use, keeping them in the economy, and regenerating natural systems. This is a big idea. It's a very big idea. And the other point that we have worked very hard on for the last 10 years is to demonstrate that it's an economic idea that actually represents a huge potential for creation of new forms of value that operate at the national and at the company business level as well. And all those reports I showed you, if you go to those reports, you'll find a few interesting things. We don't talk about sustainability, and never have, as an organisation in the last 10 years. And we have argued the case for this being an economic idea. It's an economic solution, and it has to be. It frankly has to be. And it's going to require. It's a vision and a set of solutions that actually are relatively well understood. We know what needs to be done to shift and to redesign towards a regenerative economy, towards a circular economy. The challenge is really twofold. The first thing is that we need to shift mindsets. We need a societal shift in thinking around the economy, and a recognition that we are part of nature, people. The economy is part and interconnected, an integral part of natural systems. It's not a separate thing. We need to reconnect this idea in people's minds. So we need to mainstream the vision, and we need to build a societal understanding of the planetary boundaries and the implications of this, the need to operate within planetary boundaries. And we need to build this understanding of the interconnectedness of these various systems. We need to reconnect people with nature, particularly as everybody is moving to cities, and children and young adults are spending more and more time on screens and less time connecting with nature. And we need to orient innovation and business innovation and enabling policy to actually be innovating towards solutions, product service systems that are restorative and regenerative by design. This is not about cleaning up the mess afterwards, it's about redesigning the system right up front. And the second thing is we need to make the economics work. And if you look at all of the work that Kate Raworth does and Micah Paulin and many others, there are many terrific examples of solutions of architectural designs and of city designs and of product services that really struggle to make it competitively, to compete economically with the linear economics that I characterized earlier. So what we need to do is we need to create both the demand for these new solutions, and we believe that demand exists. We believe as an organisation that there's actually a societal yearning for better solutions. I know when I go to the supermarket or I make a purchase, I want to make a better decision. I want to be buying something that is building natural systems, contributing to a better world, not making it worse. But it's very hard to do that. So we need to be able to characterise and demonstrate, give examples of products, services, solutions that are better, and help people understand that these exist. And we need to scale those. We need to orient investment towards these types of products and solutions. So we work with many banks, many financial institutions, and we're working a lot on measurement and on actual transparency so that we can actually not only help people understand better solutions and what they look like, but help capital orient towards those as well, investors oriented, people who want to invest their money in better solutions. We want to orient the finance and funding of those so that they can take off. So these two things, the mindset shift in society and the getting the economics to work are the challenge. And that's what we've been working on for 10 years. We're continuing to do that. We spent a lot of time on building networks. Katerina mentioned we work with many of the world's largest organisations. We work formally with 300 companies around the world. We have a network of 2,500 others. This is happening. These people are investing significant amounts of effort, energy, money, time towards creation of these new solutions. So network building is super important, but we also work with governments and cities, institutions. We work with educators, universities, policy institutions, etc. And we do a lot of work ourselves in education and learning so that we can help people both in formal education and through informal channels access these ideas and get examples of them. And I just wanted to show you a few examples of the sort of work and the ways in which we work. I'll skip over that one. I wanted to talk about food. So this is the recent report that we developed, which is talking about the redesign of food, is super interesting. And again, Katerina mentioned we're working with companies like Nestle and IKEA, but also Walmart, Tesco's. And what we're trying to do is to get them to redesign their food so that it uses more biodiverse sources rather than the concentration into very few crops. We want to expand the biodiverse choices that they include in their products. And we want to encourage the growing of these food products in a regenerative way. Now this is really high leverage stuff. 10 companies, 10 FMCG food companies and retailers in Europe and UK actually have a direct influence on 40% of agricultural land in Europe and the UK. So if these companies change the design of their food to be more biodiverse, use more biodiverse ingredients that are grown regeneratively, they change their relationship with farmers and shift from a race to the bottom to a more regenerative approach, this could have a very fundamental influence on land and the landscape in a very short order. And this is what's interesting about the approach that we adopt. If you think about how the world has changed in the last 20 years, global supply chains, the shipping of goods around the world, all of these things driven by industrial innovation, this has occurred at lightning pace. In 20 years, we've seen this transformation of the world. We can do it again. We can orient these organisations who have a massive influence on the actual what happens on the ground through the design of their product service systems and move very, very quickly. It's super important we do this. If we think about climate change, we mostly focus on energy and energy efficiency, but 45% of the answer is in the way in which we make and use things, including food. It's not just about electrifying the linear economy, we have to transform the economy. And I mentioned that we work in communications a lot. I just wanted to show you quickly, and again orient you to the website because I don't have time to go through the many examples, but we have hundreds and hundreds of case examples that you can look at and that we orient people towards. We put a huge effort into social media and communications. We reach around about 8 million people per month through our own native channels, and on a good month we'll reach 10 million. And the idea is spreading and it is growing very quickly. We use contemporary media, contemporary analytics, contemporary approaches to really getting the message out there and orienting people towards it. And we also put a lot of effort into the design topic. And we focus on design, which is quite unusual for an NGO like us. We're a charity. We focus on design and designers with the explicit intent to move the whole conversation right upstream to when the choices are made in terms of what materials are used, how they're put together, where the product sits in a system, can it sit in a system, and we focus on design extensively. So the second book pitch for today is this one, which has just come out before Christmas. This is called the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, Circular Design for Fashion. We worked with over 80 of the world's leading fashion designers who are working on circular economy, and this really talks about the whole approach to designing for circular economic systems and the potential it has. And I'd encourage you to get one of these. We've almost completely sold out the first run of this. We did a 5,000 book run for the first lot, and in 3 months they were almost all gone. But this communications part in our approach is an important part of it. And we also work to create design tools and other approaches to equip designers to be able to bring this idea to life. So really, what I wanted to try to characterize again is this idea, the circular economy as part of a broader movement of regenerative economics. It's happening, it's coming fast, it's inevitable. Our mission as an organisation is to make it happen faster, and by working in a different way to we have in the past to engage the actors in the system and to catalyse this shift. And I want to leave you with the thought that this is it is an inspiring idea. It's something to move towards and to orient towards. And what we do find is that it presents a vision and an approach, a set of tools that people, young people, designers can embrace and innovate towards and head on this journey. And you know, really what we aspire to do as an organisation is not only to mobilise this idea, but to create unstoppable momentum and to accelerate it. And I think arts and culture has a huge role in shifting mindsets and orienting towards the solution, because we all know what the problem is. Thank you.
Any questions?
Hi.
My name is Grace Lee. Thank you very much. Your entire talk reminds me Jack Frisco.
Oh, sorry, remind you?
Jack Frisco. He died at age 101, 2017. There's a film called Future by Design.
Yep.
I have been feeling like his work has been so overlooked, and everything you have just talked has been in his work.
Yep.
And he went to Einstein. Einstein dismissed him. He was a scientist, self-taught. He was an architect, industry designer. He was such a... I get very excited. But I feel his work needs to be seriously looking at today.
Okay.
And because he didn't patent any of his design. He believed design, the last slide you showed, how design can impact us from city planning to, he actually had a lot of idea how to design a city. He believed if we design a city that has a lot of harmony, their behavior will be different. He also designed the plane. Actually, Boeing took his idea because he didn't patent anything. He had a huge studio in Florida. He had this Venice project. He was into plants and everything. Just everything you have talked. I don't want to go to the detail, but this film called Future by Design, you can watch online. It's just amazing. I just feel like his ideas, because he didn't patent them, there are so many things we can look into what he actually openly to the world, but the world just didn't pay attention.
Yeah. No, this is as I say, this is not a new idea, it's not our idea. What we've done is try to bring together many schools of thought, and there are many others as well who have been promoting this idea and chipping away at it in the background. What we're trying to do is to bring this fundamentally into the mainstream. And I think the other part of it, as I say, is to demonstrate that this is an economic construct. And as Kate Raworth says, you know, we need to transform the entire economy. What we're doing is coming into the bigger conversation through the materials lens, the matter lens, and trying to get that done. And to transform complex systems, you have to find a way in, and you have to actually catalyze change through a simpler way into that system. You can't take it all on. So I think one of the things that we're learning with systems change is you need to find a way in, you need to demonstrate that it works and have principles that can be applied in other places. And this is a journey that will take many, many years. The vision's clear, the solutions are clear, the economics do work, and we just need to align the innovation and design part of this with the enabling policies, and the policies take longer. So that's why, again, why we focus on business and innovators to drive this out.
He kind of offered all of that. I don't just wonder.
Okay.
If you,
well, yeah.
I just wonder if you guys looked into his work, studied it. Like he wrote a book called "The Money Cannot Buy."
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your extremely interesting speech. I have a question concerning energy. Now, all you've been talking have been material-oriented. What's your view concerning energy in the system?
Yeah. I think one of the really underappreciated concepts is the notion of embedded energy. The energy that actually goes into making a product, and the importance of maximizing the return on invested energy in that product. So keeping products in use, used for longer, actually lowers the energy demand of the economy. And that's the point that I was trying to make before, that if we just focus on renewable energy and energy efficiency, what we will be doing is we will be turbocharging the linear economy with renewable energy. And that's a massive problem. And what we have the opportunity to do is to capture the value that we've already invested, keep it in use much, much longer, lower the demand of the economy for energy, and significantly increase the use of renewables, both energy and materials. And the renewable materials need to be produced in a regenerative way. So we talk about regenerative production. So how we grow food, forestry, aquaculture, all of these things need to be done in a regenerative way so we're not extracting from nature renewable materials. Thank you.